Welcome to another exciting episode of the Cuban Gardener. Today, I'll be showing you how to grow kale in containers.
In this container I have it's a mix of red Russian kale, curly, and dino kale, or Tuscan kale. This one is just a full container of red Russian kale. On this one, it's curly kale. This is my dino kale, Senato kale. It's been growing for like months and months. I've been harvesting like crazy from that.
All right, before we start, I'm going to show you what you will need to grow kale in containers. Now, there's many options out there, but the first thing you're going to need is obviously the kale plants. You can start it from seed, or you can buy it at the store, Lowe's, Home Depot, from seedlings. Okay, it'll be like $3 for like six plants. But if you grow it yourself from seed, it's even cheaper. Okay, so let's choose the container. Now, I'll be choosing this 15-gallon container. Okay, you can also do 20-gallon, or you can use this ToolBox Tote as a container as well. I've grown kale there all year round. You can fit 6 pieces, 6 plants. Another thing you're going to be using is vegetable fertilizer. Make sure it's organic. We're going to use rock dust or azomite. Now, this is optional. You can use coffee grounds, any other side dressing, medium. Some fish emulsion fertilizer, and some garden lime. Now, the lime will be used for the next process. We're going to use more than half of the container. So if you're going to use a 15-gallon, make sure it's more than half of compost, fresh compost, and half of, or a little less than half of peat moss or cocoa coir. Now, to grow kale, being in the brassica family, just like cabbage or broccoli, Brussels sprouts, they're heavy feeders. I mean, they feed heavily on nutrients and on water. So being like a grass, they suck a lot of water. So you need something that retains a lot of moisture, a lot of water, not too much, but enough so the container is never drying out. And for that, you can use peat moss or cocoa coir. I think peat moss is cheaper than cocoa coir, but you can go with either one. So remember, a little more than half of fresh compost and about half or less of peat moss. Now let's get to the next step. All right, here's the garden lime. Okay, garden lime is used for peat moss or obviously peat moss and compost are very acidic in nature. So I don't want to put it too neutral, but I don't want it to be too much acidic. So being brassicas don't really like acidic soil. So I'm just gonna add a handful of lime, garden lime. Make sure it's for organic use, and then we're gonna mix this up. Okay, so we have everything here mixed. As you can see, if you press like that, sort of it clogs up, but then it breaks down easily. See that? So once it's wet, it's gonna suck a lot of water. It's gonna retain a lot of moisture. Okay, next step, let's fill up the container. Okay, so here we have the container filled up, nice and mixed. Now the next step would be to add the fertilizer and the rock dust. This is some organic vegetable fertilizer from Joe's Organics. I got this. This is what 16 pounds for $4 at Lowe's. So they really had it on special. It's really worth it. Just gonna use a handful of it. Okay, put it around like that. Next thing we're gonna use is azomite rock dust, which is basically rock dust that comes from a volcanic mine in Utah, and it contains over 75 minerals, trace minerals that plants need. Okay, this is used throughout the world for organic agriculture to basically feed the soil. That's just about a handful. All right. Now next step is just mix it up. Leave it on the first three inches or so of the soil, of the topsoil. Now I'm doing this last. I could have done it when I mixed the compost and the peat moss, but I'm doing it now because that way when I water the plant, obviously by gravity, the water's going to push all the nutrients down, and what happens is you're going to have to fertilize more often, right? So basically your fertilizer is going down the drain, if you will. So by leaving it on top, the process is slower to get to the bottom. Now this is the kale that I'm planting. This is the famous lacinato or dino kale. They call it dino because the skin is so wrinkled that it resembles a reptile skin. Okay, so take this out. Dig a little hole. Kale you can plant as deep as you want, as long as the crown this is the crown here where the new leaves are growing out. As long as I'll press it around so there's no air pockets. Now in this container you can grow I would say 2 plants, 3 plants, but there's a drawback to that. It'll probably will give you kale for like probably a year, or less. But I mean, there's going to be so much root bound in the container from 3 plants competing for nutrients that always one will not grow like the other. And basically, if you leave one, it's going to grow all year round and perhaps up to 2 years, as long as you feed it well enough. Okay, but it's up to you. I've done it 3 plants in this container or the toolbox, but this year I'm just gonna grow one because I noticed that I'm gonna get more, and probably the leaves are gonna be even larger, and the plant is gonna live longer. So I'm okay with that. And around the container, I'll be planting some lettuce. Okay, just to use the space. So we have the kale planted in our container. Now, this is the fertilizer that I use. It's fish emulsion. It's basically fish juiced up. It's 5:1:1 in the NPK ratio, so it contains a lot of nitrogen, which kale needs. Since it's a grass, it doesn't produce any fruit. It's just leaves. So the nitrogen plays a part in that growth. I suggest you use this every 2 weeks or so. So just 1 tablespoon per gallon of water should be enough. And every 2 weeks, fertilize it, and the plant is gonna grow and grow and produce lots of leaves. And this kale produces lots of lettuce throughout the year. This is an amazing plant, vegetable you can grow. It's very healthy, so I suggest everyone to grow it. Well, that was it, folks. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions or concerns, you can hit me directly via social media, Instagram, Facebook. My page is @Cuban Gardener. Thank you for watching.